Coffeezilla, the internet detective, was able to get into some Twitter spaces with Sam Bankman-Fried and ask him the hard-hitting questions for the FTX collapse, of which the journalists who interviewed him before seem to have just not done. It's really crazy that a YouTuber can come up with better questions and has better connections than people who are official journalists whose job it is to literally do this. Because as we know, the majority of the mainstream media has been real fluff pieces on SBF trying to paint him as some sort of good guy or some kid who just made a mistake, when in reality, he's not that good of a guy and he didn't just make a little mistake. Coffeezilla starts off in the first space asking him about the $8 billion that went missing.
Hey, thanks for having me. I just wanted to quickly ask, so there's this big question about this $8 billion that went into some kind of a stub account. If I just want to get some clarification on this, from my understanding, what you're basically claiming is that back when FTX didn't have banking, you'd use Silvergate to have people to wire money to Alameda Research and then credit them on the FTX side, but you didn't actually account for that money going back to them. So essentially you had like $8 billion come into FTX you didn't have on the books, technically. I mean, how can you explain more how that worked? Because it seems like such a key part of this whole thing. And so far we've gotten like very vague things about stub accounts. Just try to be as specific as you can on how that actually happened.
So, first question is a great question. Something that the journalists and interviewers from before should have asked and should have been much more hold his feet to the fire and actually get an answer, because we can see SBF's answer is just trying to tiptoe around it. But if you didn't know, this is $8 billion of customers' funds that were wired to FTX. That's where they thought the money was going, but it actually went to Alameda and they credited them on FTX, so it would show up as they had the money there, but FTX never actually had the $8 billion.
So, um, so, and again, some of these are things I'm trying to piece together that I don't have the full answer to, but I think that part of it was, I believe that there was, correct FTX accounting, in terms of, the audited financials, but, but that at least I can say that when you sort of pulled up, on a dashboard, what the accounts look like, it would not have, it wouldn't have displayed, those transfers, and it wouldn't have displayed the balances related to those.
So, seems like that's the only response that Sam had that entire clip. He basically never got to an answer, and that's what he did the entire time, stumbling on his words, because the second he didn't get a fluff question thrown at him for a fluff piece, all of a sudden it's very hard to answer the questions, which is the strategy Sam is taking with like the majority of his Coffeezilla stuff, which is a 30-minute video. I'm not going to show every question he asked, but I'm going to show kind of ones that I found kind of interesting. So if you want to see the entire thing, I'm going to link it in the description so you can watch it. It's great to see the actual hard-hitting questions and how Sam can't actually answer them. And this next question from Coffeezilla actually really distinguishes him from these journalists, because somehow, some way, a YouTuber was able to get into the insides of Alameda, into the insiders, to double-check information, but journalists aren't, which is a crazy thing to me that a YouTuber can do it, but journalists whose entire job this is, they couldn't do it.
Real quick second follow-up. So I've talked to a few Alameda insiders, and I've kind of run them by your story of things. I think you probably are aware. I'm pretty skeptical. And one of them, when I told them, like, sort of like, could it be that Sam wouldn't know about this? Somebody who worked with you, and they actually, like, they laughed and they said, there's no way he's claiming to be stupid now when he was like this genius wonder kid. And so my sense of things is, how do you explain this? How do you explain the fact that some of the people who worked with you for years, your employees, have come out and said, there's no way he didn't know about these backdoors. There's no way he didn't know what Caroline was doing.
So there you have it. Coffeezilla was able to follow up on things that Sam was saying and talk about Alameda insiders and say, is he saying true or whatever? Is he saying the truth? Could he have not known? And they laughed at him and said there's no way he couldn't have known, which makes no sense why that's not everywhere in the news and why it's not coming out. So questioning is Sam Bankman-Fried lying about what happened at FTX? Why can't these mainstream media companies and journalists who say they have so much integrity go out and reach to Alameda former employees or insiders and ask them this question and then report on it and say, maybe Sam isn't being as truthful as he's leading on? And Sam's response to this is a more tiptoeing around and trying to not answer a question and go around it. But he ultimately ended up getting scared and going away from the Twitter space and running away because he wasn't getting the fluff questions that he was so used to.
I mean, we're right, Sam. I've just got guys. I've just got a DM. Sam has to leave. So guys,
wait, can I, Mark?
So we see just a couple of good questions from Coffeezilla was enough to make Sam run away and not want to answer these anymore because it probably wasn't fun anymore. And obviously, Sam has the most to lose because he's trying to avoid going to jail. That's why he's coming out and doing this media tour, and he's trying to probably find places where he donated lots of money to that they're going to be a little nicer to him and try and spin his narrative instead of one that might get him in trouble and send him to jail. There was another space that Coffeezilla got into with SBF where he asked him more hard-hitting questions, basically added on to the previous day, so he couldn't run that long. But his answer to the questions is very telling at the end.
So where was the position?
It was in a separate stub account, I believe, related to wire transfers that had been sent, to Alameda Research, generally primarily to FTX, having its own bank accounts.
So who controlled the secret stub account? Did anyone at Alameda know about this secret stub account? I mean, are we supposed to believe that just like there was this stub account that nobody knew about?
I don't know who knew about what when. I'm sorry.
I mean, clearly somebody lost the money, right? Like, obviously the money went somewhere. Somebody lost it. It just seems really convenient that $8 billion was located in this like account that didn't show up when you pulled up Alameda's balances, right?
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you.
That right there, just that little segment is enough of holes being poked in Sam's story that it just doesn't add up anymore. I don't know how anyone could believe that Sam Bankman-Fried, the CEO and founder of FTX and founder of Alameda, didn't know what was going on in his own company. He couldn't answer who this secret stub account had control of, couldn't answer who in Alameda knew that. He couldn't answer any of the questions given to him and went back into a corner, just simply said, I don't know what to tell you, because that is an $8 billion hole and an $8 billion answer. The answer behind $8 billion missing is, I don't know what to tell you. So I don't know how anyone is believing what Sam's doing, believing this media tour is going on and this narrative he's trying to spin up. I don't know how the journalist who interviewed him simply didn't ask any hard-hitting questions, and how a YouTuber in 2 Twitter spaces could rip holes in the entire story and make Sam massively uncomfortable and show that maybe there's glaring signs that he's not being 100% truthful. But I guess time will tell. We'll see how it all plays out. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, don't just smash the like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subs. See you in my next video.